Okay, let's be real. We are all swimming in information about the climate crisis, right? We see the headlines, we know the facts, but how do we get from just knowing about it to actually doing something, especially for our kids? Well, today we're going to unpack a powerful blueprint that shows us exactly how to bridge that gap, to go from just knowing to truly caring.
And this really gets to the heart of the matter, doesn't it? I mean, you and I, we can probably list off the big issues. Carbon emissions, plastic in the ocean, biodiversity loss. We've got the information down. So why is there this huge disconnect between what we know in our heads and what we actually do with our hands?
Well, the answer, it turns out, lies in a really critical distinction between two big ideas. On one hand, you've got environmental literacy. Think of this as knowing the facts, the science, the data. But here's the kicker. The research is crystal clear on this. You can ace the test on climate change and still not change a single thing about how you live. It just creates passive observers. But what we're really after is on the other side, ecological awareness. And this is so much more than just facts. It's that deep, gut-level connection. It's when knowledge gets blended with empathy and a real, genuine drive to take action.
So the million-dollar question is, how do we build that? How do we cultivate that deeper awareness? Well, a major new study, a big systematic review by Iskandar Suleiman, did all the heavy lifting for us. It dug through years and years of educational research to figure out what actually works. And what they found boils down to three powerful pillars, a complete blueprint for change.
All right, let's dive into pillar number 1. This is all about the what, as in, what are we actually teaching? And listen, this isn't just about adding a new chapter to a textbook. We're talking about a fundamental shift in the entire framework.
Because the research is absolutely unanimous on this one. The old way of doing things has failed, flat out. That old model of just, pouring facts from the teacher's head into the student's head, it just doesn't work. It might create that environmental literacy we talked about, but it does not build genuine ecological awareness.
So, what we need is a totally new, integrated approach. To be effective, environmental education has to weave together 3 different strands. First up, the cognitive. Yes, we still need the knowledge, but it's got to be framed as systems thinking, helping kids see how everything is interconnected. Next, and this is so crucial, is the affective domain. This is the heart stuff. It's about building an actual emotional connection, a sense of empathy for nature. And finally, the sociocultural piece. This means grounding the lessons right in a student's own backyard, in their local community and culture.
And that last point is where something called place-based education comes in. This is a game changer. Think about it. Instead of reading about the Amazon rainforest in a textbook, which can feel a million miles away, students learn about the river that runs through their town, or the park down the street, or the trash problem on their block. It makes these huge global issues feel tangible, personal, and way more urgent.
And you know what's so cool about this? This isn't some brand new idea being imported from somewhere else. The research points out that Indonesia's own educational philosophy, from thinkers like Ki Hajar Dewantara, has always seen nature as the ultimate teacher. So this is really about reconnecting with and revitalizing a powerful local wisdom.
Okay, so that's pillar 1, the what. We've got this new, holistic framework. But the big question is, how do you actually do this in a real classroom? That brings us right to pillar 2, the how.
And when you look across all the studies, one strategy just keeps coming up again and again as the most effective: project-based learning, or PJBL for short. This is where we make that huge leap from passive learning to active doing. Kids aren't just reading about a problem in a book anymore. No way. They're tasked with investigating and solving a real one as a team.
And it's not as complicated as it sounds. It really just breaks down into a few steps. First, you identify a real local issue. Maybe it's the plastic waste problem at school. Then, the students get to be detectives. They investigate it, they collaborate. Next comes the fun part. They design, create a solution. Maybe they build a new recycling system from scratch. And finally, and this is key, they share their work with the community. That's what makes the learning feel real and important.
And look, this isn't just a theory. The studies are packed with these incredible real-world examples. We're talking about students designing entire plastic waste management systems. Or, get this, building actual robots to sort trash. How cool is that? It's like the perfect mix of tech and environmentalism. Another amazing one is citizen science, where students get to be real scientists, collecting data for actual research projects, like monitoring the water quality in their local river.
Okay, so we have the what, our new framework, and we have the how, project-based learning, but there's one last crucial piece of the puzzle. how do we know if any of it is actually working? This brings us to pillar 3, the proof, and it's a total revolution in how we measure success. Think about the old way. It was all about the test, right? What facts did you memorize? But the research says we need to ditch that. We need to move to a new model of authentic assessment that asks a much better question. What can you do? The whole focus shifts from just remembering stuff to demonstrating real-world skills. So what does that actually look like in a classroom? Well, instead of bubble tests, teachers can use things like project portfolios where they see the whole journey of a project. Or a simple, direct observation. Are the kids actually using those new recycling bins they designed? They can have students give public presentations defending their solutions. And to measure that deeper change in values, there are even validated surveys that can track how their attitudes about the environment are shifting over time. All right, so we've walked through all 3 pillars, the what, the how, and the proof. Now, let's zoom out for a second and see how all these pieces click together to form one really powerful blueprint for change.
Because these aren't just 3 random ideas, right? They're totally interconnected. They're designed to work together as a single, cohesive strategy. When you combine the right what with the right how and the right proof, that's when you create a system that can actually genuinely build that deep ecological awareness we've been talking about.
And here's the whole shebang, all in one place. Pillar 1, the what, is our holistic concept. Make learning local, emotional, and cultural. Pillar 2, the how, is our hands-on method, project-based learning. And Pillar 3, the proof, is our real-world evidence, authentic assessment. That right there, that's the blueprint.
Now this is where it gets really exciting, because this blueprint, based on all this evidence, isn't just some nice idea on paper. It aligns perfectly with the direction of Indonesia's new Curriculum Merdeka and its big focus on P5 projects. Seriously, the policy is already there. This research basically hands us the instruction manual on how to make it a massive success.
So the big takeaway here is pretty simple. We don't have to guess anymore about what works. The research has given us a clear, evidence-based plan. A plan to raise a generation that doesn't just know about the planet, but feels deeply connected to it and feels empowered to protect it. The blueprint is in our hands. The only question left for all of us is, what are we going to build with it?